Okay, I'm just getting set up here for everybody that's just joining us. Okay, just making sure we're streaming okay here on all platforms. Turn that sound down on there. On Rumble and YouTube. Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to the Relief Valve Podcast. It's been a series of unfortunate events, whatever that book was. Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events. So first, I haven't been able to do all the updates that I wanted because the family ended up getting sick. We had a little bit of the flu running around the house. And then just old wiring from the electric company coming in from the main poles to the house were rotted away and were going out. And then we just started losing power around the house. It was like the house was haunted. Things were turning on and going off. And it was crazy. So it ended up being, electrician, electric company, everybody coming in order to fix this. So there was no way I could stream with any consistency. It was an issue, losing Wi-Fi as well. So finally I can get back on here. We're gonna do the update. We're live on YouTube and Rumble as well. So let's get right into the show. First, the tornadoes that are going on here are absolutely crazy. Let's take a look at some of this footage here. This is on TikTok. So there was some other crazy video. I don't know if you guys saw this one. This kid that was a storm chaser actually rescued a family from destruction. They came running over. A mom had kids in her arms running over to the car. I think I had done a like and done something over here. I'm just trying to figure out what video that was. And I can show you guys right here, I believe. Here we go. This is one storm chaser rescuing a family.
There's people.
Come running over. Mom's got the child in her arms.
Get in! Get in the car! Get in the car!
The dad looks like he might have gotten injured. He's kind of got a limp.
Get in the other side! Other side! Come on! Come on!
Please get us. Need your phone. I gotta call my mom.
Right here! Get in!
Get in! I know. Look at me. I gotta look where you're bleeding, okay? Look at me.
So the family's been hurt, whether they were in the house or in a barn or something, and that got destroyed as well.
Come on, Bill. Hey.
Grabbing the dog too. You see the twister right over there.
Billy.
Okay. Go, guys, go.
are here. I've got. Okay, man. You gotta get
Wes, I need a gavel.
I've got injured people in my car.
Don't get in the mud.
I'll try not
Don't
to.
think about you'll get sick. Hey, Wes, I love you.
Just to make this very
Okay,
quick.
we're okay.
I've got injured people in my car right now. Okay, there's a tornado here. Where are we at, guys?
Hodges.
Hodges,
Texas.
Hodges, Texas.
Wes,
So that's a crazy situation. He's on the phone with 911. He's calling in to let him know that he has a family. He's rescued him. Good on this kid for doing that. That was great to rescue that family in a scary situation for them. I know a lot of people are suffering with this, and not many are getting safe. Here's some of we got tornado outbreaks in the Midwest and the South, Arkansas, Missouri, and other places. Here's an update on some of what we have so far.
On top of all of this, an outbreak of deadly tornadoes tore through the Midwest and South last night. Several people were killed in Missouri and Arkansas. Many of these communities are now bracing for a second round of severe storms. Jen Sullivan has details on the damage and storm threat that still is looming tonight.
Oh my God.
Terrifying moments for two people in Rolla, Missouri, as a tornado surrounds their car, violently shaking it. This powerful storm system spawning at least 25 tornadoes across the Midwest and South overnight. At least 11 people were killed in Missouri.
Trees, just the amount of debris, number of overturned tractor trailers, cars pushed around.
One of the hardest hit areas was in Butler County, Missouri.
This was widespread in the different areas it hit, but the one mobile home park was the most casualties and people are injured.
Multiple homes and businesses damaged or destroyed in Villa Ridge, Missouri, about 40 miles southwest of St. Louis. Toppled trees covering homes and cars. Emergency crews saying it's been hard to rescue residents with all the debris blocking the roads.
There's multiple power lines down, and it's still a very dangerous situation.
Tornadoes carving out paths of destruction in Arkansas, where at least 3 people were killed as a result of the severe weather. As the cleanup begins for these communities, many are still under the threat for another round of severe weather. The National Weather Service issuing a level 5 out of 5 warning for severe thunderstorms.
Wow, that's crazy.
In portions of Mississippi and Alabama. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
A 5 out of 5. So that's a dangerous situation. So, I always hate it when people say thoughts and prayers. Somebody else online in a chat comment said, rather than thoughts and prayers, send donations, monetary donations to help some of these people out. I totally agree with that. If there's a way that you can help some of these people that have been devastated, absolutely try to do that if you can. I know it's tough times that we're in, and you're trying to scratch for every dollar, but my thoughts are obviously with them. But if there's something else you can do, and even that I can do, that's what I would recommend. So that's some crazy stuff with the tornadoes happening over there. My girlfriend had told me she had read one article that said, and I forget what state this was in, but a family was in their home and had the tornado just hit the home before the sirens could even go off. I don't know if they malfunctioned. I don't know if there wasn't enough time because it was so sudden, but the family got hit. I don't remember if they survived or not, but it just hit so quickly and so brutally without the warnings to evacuate. It's crazy stuff. So let's move on here to more updated news. We'll get rid of this. So we're saying Al Jazeera, so take this for what it's worth. But Trump has authorized attacks against the Houthi rebels that have been attacking shipping lanes. They've been attacking any shipping container ships that have been coming through that area. Biden refused to do anything about them. Now Trump is actually doing something about it. So the U.S. raids come after Trump warned that he'll rain hell down if the Houthis attack ships in the Red Sea, which has continued. U.S. fighter jets have carried out a series of raids across Yemen, killing at least 32 people after President Trump warned the Houthi group not to attack ships passing through the Red Sea. According to the latest statistics from the Houthi-run health ministry, so take that with a grain of salt, at least 101 have been injured in the U.S. air raids, and Al Jazeera's Mohammed Al-Attab reporting from Sana'a. Now, we know all these terrorist organizations, they end up flubbing their numbers in order to get sympathy from the rest of the world. Hamas does the exact same thing. So they'll, if they lost 3 people, they'll report to everybody that they lost about 50 to 100. So that can't actually be trusted. The U.S. raids, the most significant military action since Trump's return to power in January, came after Yemen's Houthis threatened to resume raids on Israeli-linked ships in the Red Sea over Israel's blockade on Gaza. The U.S. attacks, which began on Saturday and continued into the early hours of Sunday on the Yemeni capital Sana'a, as well as areas in Sada and Al-Biada, killed 32 people and wounded 101, according to the Ministry of Health. Earlier, spokesperson of the Ministry of Health, Anis Al-Ashbahi, said that most of the casualties were children and women. Of course they're going to say that. They're targeting military areas, not civilian areas. The victims in Sada included 4 children and a woman, according to Yemeni media. U.S. forces also launched attacks in the provinces of Haji, Marib, Damar, and Taiz. The Houthi group warned that the strikes will not pass without response. The Houthi website slammed... the terrorists have got a website. That's amazing. Slammed what it called U.S.-British aggression and Washington's criminal brutality. Trump, in a post on social media, promised to use overwhelming lethal force and ordered Iran to immediately cut its support, because Iran supports all the terror proxies in that region. Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, etc. Your time is up and your attacks must stop starting today. If they don't, hell will rain down upon you like nothing you've ever seen before, the U.S. president said in a statement on Truth Social, his social media site. I've ordered the U.S. military to launch a decisive and powerful military operation against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen, he said, adding that Washington will use overwhelming lethal force until we've achieved our objective. Trump also told Iran that it needed to stop supporting the Houthis immediately. He said, if Iran threatens the U.S., America will hold you fully accountable, and we won't be nice about it. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi condemned the attacks and said Washington had no authority to dictate its foreign policy. Well, we do if you're paying terrorist groups to attack people all over the world. Yeah, we can take action. Hezbollah, the Lebanese group linked to Tehran, also condemned U.S. military strikes. Gives a shit. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov told his U.S. counterpart Marco Rubio in a phone call on Saturday that all sides should refrain from the use of force in Yemen. In response to argumentation put forward by American representatives, Sergei Lavrov stressed the need for an immediate cessation of the use of force and the importance for all sides to engage in political dialogue so as to find a solution that would prevent further bloodshed, Russia's foreign ministry said on Sunday. So it's showing you the area here. Yemen and the Marib, Sana'a, Al-Biada, Taiz governments, and then the Gulf of Aden and Red Sea right here. So travel areas for ships coming through here and passing through this corridor right here, and then attacks coming from this area to those ships. And those ships are going, they're coming to America, they're coming all over the world. So, when they're attacked, that's the price of goods going up on all of us, because it's unsafe to take that area, or they have to take a roundabout area instead of taking a more useful route. So this affects shipping all around the world, and it needs to come to an end. The Houthis are a terrorist group, and I fully support these attacks that Trump is doing here. So now I know you've been hearing a lot about the thing about Greenland, and I wanted to touch base a little bit about this because both sides end up presenting an unrealistic situation for this. When Trump says he's going to, take over Greenland, or whatever wording he's kind of used for that, it's not militarily. What happens is you end up the people of that land, or whatever country we're talking to, end up voting and coming to an agreement to work economically with another country. So right now, Greenland is part of is Denmark, I believe. So if it becomes more beneficial, so they're like a territory, similar to what Puerto Rico is for the United States. So if Denmark were to vote and Greenland were to vote and decide that it wasn't beneficial for them anymore, that they would find more benefit coming with America and becoming American territory, that's how you would see that situation play out. Greenland becoming part of America, so to speak. So Greenland ended up having elections, and a center-right party ended up pulling off a victory. Now, they're saying that they don't want to join anybody. They want to stay their own independently, which is fine. We're not going over there. We're not sending troops to annex Greenland. So the left pushing this fear-mongering is ridiculous. People want change, said Democratic leader Jens Fredrik Nielsen. Greenland center-right Democratic Party, I don't know if that's supposed to be Democrat or supposed to be signal something else, party pulled off a surprise victory in the country's parliamentary elections, taking Greenlandic Prime Minister Mut Egid's party, Inuit Ataqatigiit, I'm sure I'm butchering these, Ataqatigiit, out of power. Independence from Denmark became a focal point of the election amid President Donald Trump's repeated talk of the U.S. taking control. People want change. We want more business to finance our welfare, said Jens Fredrik Nielsen, Democrats' leader, according to Reuters. The outlet added that Nielsen said Greenland does not want independence tomorrow and would prefer separation from Denmark, he based on a good foundation. 4 of the 5 main parties on the ballot, including the ones that won first and second place, and Democratic is not, we're not thinking Democrats like here in the United States. I think this is the more the name of their party, and it signals something else in their language, not Democrat as we're kind of seeing it. Party and Nelarak favor independence from Denmark but disagree on the pace. Greenland, whose population is approximately 57,000 people, so not many people there, currently operates as a semi-autonomous territory of the Kingdom of Denmark. However, Trump's renewed interest in the island sparked conversations about breaking away from the Danish crown. Prime Minister Egid, whose party failed to maintain control, said in a Facebook post that he respects the outcome of the election and that the parties are ready for negotiations. Danish Defense Minister Troels Lund Poulsen congratulated the Democratic Party and said the Greenlandic future would face massive pressure from Trump, according to the Associated Press, which cited Danish Broadcasting Corporation DR. Poulsen reportedly added that the future of Greenland is based on what the Greenlandic people and government want. The Democratic Party said a major increase in support, winning nearly 30% of the vote, compared to just 9% in 2021, according to the Associated Press, which cited Greenlandic Broadcasting Corporation, KNR-TV. Can you imagine only 57,000 people? I think I've got more people in the town that I live in currently. Earlier this month, Trump brought up Greenland in his address to a joint session of Congress. We strongly support your right to determine your own future, and if you choose, we welcome you into the United States. So you see what I'm saying here? I understand some of Trump's rhetoric and wording. He sometimes tends to become dramatic with certain things that he's talking about, but he's saying, choose your own future. You can become part of the United States if you want, which would benefit them the most, and the rare resource minerals and other things that are there that we can share and work together with. Trump said, eliciting laughter from the crowd, we need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. In the same address, Trump vowed that the U.S. would take Greenland to heights like you've never thought possible before. During a January phone call with Trump, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said that Greenland must be allowed to make decisions about its own future. Both Prime Ministers Frederiksen and Egid told President Trump that Greenland is not for sale, Axios reported at the time. In December 2024, then-President-elect Trump tapped Ken Howery as U.S. ambassador to Denmark. Trump said in a post on Truth Social, announcing that the pick that the United States of America feels that the ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity. President Trump also eyed Greenland during his first term, causing friction between himself and Prime Minister Frederiksen in 2019, after the Danish leader called the idea of the U.S. buying Greenland absurd. President Trump abruptly canceled his trip to Denmark over the nasty comment. So, you know, it's just a little back and forth between countries. You know, all of them, there's ownership of countries by other countries all over the world. And it all stems back to the original major empires just sailing around the world, taking shit over. The Danish Empire, the English Empire, the Spanish Empire, right? Spain was in control of Puerto Rico, before they became a territory of ours. And then when they finally said, you know what, we're done with you guys. We're not going to support you anymore. We're not going to give you funds anymore. We're going to go back to Spain, and you all can fucking figure it out. And then the people of Puerto Rico ended up suffering economically. They were running out of food. They were running out of resources and being able to run their economy, power grid, etc. And the United States ended up stepping in and helping out Puerto Rico, and that's how it became a territory. But many things have just been owned by someone else, somewhere else. When you go to some of these African countries, right, and then they're speaking French, and you're like, well, that's weird that they're speaking French or Creole or something like that, right? Because they're French protectorates. They're part of France. They're territories. So all of the old empires that used to go around the world taking over everything are still in control of some of these territories. Now, some are agreements made where it was beneficial for both parties, so they're still together now. So I give you Puerto Rico as a reference to being with the United States. They're still a territory for us. Hong Kong was owned and controlled by the British. The Chinese were supposed to leave it alone. The British ended up leaving and saying this is not cost productive. We're leaving, and then told China that you're not allowed to take over Hong Kong. As soon as they left, they ended up immediately putting an effort in to try and take over Hong Kong and reabsorb it into China. So Canada, I think it was controlled by France originally. I think it was France first and the British Empire second, and then ended up coming under their own control to where they currently are right now. That's why the Queen is still on their money, because they were controlled by Britain until they became their own country. So, for everybody to spout this stuff, and again, go to Ukraine and look at that. That was Kyiv, used to be the original capital of Russia. Now it's Moscow. It used to be Kyiv. Okay, Ukraine was controlled by the Soviet Union. So every country to one degree or another was controlled by someone else. And then when the situation changed and war happened, or they were able to annex themselves, they became their own little countries that can barely survive on their own, while claiming that you have to honor our independence. But really, the only way they're surviving is being a symbiosis with the primary country that they're tethered to. So in Greenland's case, they're currently tethered to Denmark. But if they made a decision that would be beneficial for them in the future, they can tether themselves to the United States, and that just ends up being beneficial for them. I think Greenland at one point, when I was looking into some of the history, was controlled by the Nazis. The Nazis ended up taking over Greenland, and then we came in and pushed them out, which is the reason you've got an American military base in Greenland. So, I mean, Germany could turn around and go, well, hey, wait a minute. I know the Nazis were bad, but they were German, so maybe Greenland belongs to Germany. Maybe there's a conversation to be had there, right? So there's this interlacing web throughout the entire world that you just don't see from day to day. The only thing you see on the surface when you're looking at the news and you're following what's going on is this independent country wants its own sovereignty and leave us alone. And of course, they're not going to explain any of the history behind them, right? America, controlled by the British, we're not exempt from that either. And we fought and we won it ourselves, with help from France. But we won it ourselves, essentially, to have it for our own. But there's no one that has really, aside from the major powers, old powers, there's no one that's been originally in control of their own country and has stayed that way. There's always been some sort of change to one degree or another. So, the left-wing media can say, this whole thing with Greenland is stupid and yada yada. But really, it's the economic and negotiation of one country between another country, and this stuff happens all the time. If they're in rough shape and they find a better deal, that's where they go. Okay, so we already looked into a little bit of this, but Trump watches the strike on Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen, and new White House picks as large-scale op continues. We talked about this a little bit earlier. But the White House releases photos of Trump watching large-scale U.S. operation striking Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen. Let's see if this is going to show me video. Yeah, we're going to get some video here. No sound. But you see the ships launching rockets. See the strikes on satellite. F-18 Hornets. And the Houthis are a terror group. Biden let them go, let them keep attacking ships that are traveling through the area. This should not have been allowed to happen. Trump is finally taking action. And the Houthis disrupting trade through the Red Sea ends up affecting multiple countries. And then that ends up raising the price of goods because it's so dangerous to transport those goods to their destinations, be it the United States or other countries. So this is action that has to be taken. The White House released photos of President Donald Trump watching strikes in Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen on Saturday as a large-scale U.S. operation against a terrorist group continues. President Trump has taken action against the Houthis to defend U.S. shipping assets and deter terrorist threats, the White House wrote on X, sharing photos of Trump as well as Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. For too long, American economic and national threats have been under assault by the Houthis, not under this presidency. Trump appeared to be dressed in golf attire and was wearing his signature red baseball cap with his name emblazoned on the back while watching video of the strikes on a television screen. Another photo showed the president from the front with a black headset on. So here's one here. He's watching, live access to the ships attacking and the planes dropping bombs. He wrote on his Truth Social post that he had ordered the United States military to launch decisive and powerful military action against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen. And here's another one, another view here where he's got a headset in and he's listening into, internal updates or communications that are coming through. So, you notice that Biden let this all go and there were videos, if anyone remembers, and I can actually find that. There were videos that the Houthis ended up making. I believe it was the Houthis where they made a video of them coming by helicopter and attacking a ship. Houthis attack ships in the Red Sea. I want to see if we've got one video where, here it is.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Saturday launched military strikes.
I'll show you after this.
Houthis over the group's attacks against Red Sea shipping. A plume of smoke.
They might have it in here.
Video rising in Yemen's capital of Sana'a at the scene of a strike. In a post on Truth Social, Trump warned the Houthis, quote, "Your attacks must stop, starting today. If they don't, hell will rain down upon you like nothing you have ever seen before." Trump also warned Iran, the Houthis' main backer, that it needed to immediately halt support to the group. Trump said if Iran threatened the United States, quote, "America will hold you fully accountable and we won't be nice about it." The unfolding U.S. strikes represent the biggest U.S. military operation in the Middle East since Trump took office in January. At least 9 civilians were killed and 9 injured in the strikes on Sana'a, according to the Houthi-run health ministry.
Here we go.
Since
Here's the
November
video.
2023, the Houthis have launched
This is
more
the
than
Houthis
100 attacks targeting shipping,
flying in
at least 4 seafarers
and landing
sinking
on a
2
shipping
vessels
vessel and attacking
seizing another. The Houthis say the attacks were in solidarity with Palestinians over Israel's war with Hamas.
There's
in
them
Gaza.
taking the crew
Biden
hostage, unarmed
administration
people.
had sought to degrade the Houthis' ability to attack vessels off its coast, but limited the U.S. actions.
So, they put it on GoPros, and they recorded it. So, I don't have any sympathy for these fucks. They need to be taken out. Okay, so coming back to the home front here. Some more good news of crazy things that we got rid of. Trump has been threatening removing federal funding to all these states and colleges that supported Black Lives Matter, which is essentially a domestic terror group. And by the way, the leaders ended up embezzling all of the money and turning around and buying themselves mansions in predominantly white neighborhoods, white gated neighborhoods with walls around their homes. This is what the leaders of the BLM organization did. So it was never to help black people. It was never to make life better for them. It was all about playing to their base of black people who were frustrated, and embezzling money from them and any other left-wing or sympathetic person that would donate money in order to put money in their own pockets. And that's what they ended up doing. So Trump has been threatening anyone with the reduction of federal funds if they didn't get rid of some of this stuff that's left over from all of these BLM protests and riot days. So BLM Plaza was removed in D.C. It was written on the entire road. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's take a look at this.
This change. Crews began dismantling the plaza on Monday. Congressman Andrew Clyde represents Gainesville, Toccoa, Hartwell, and Dahlonega. He introduced the bill which orders D.C. to remove the mural or lose federal funds. Now, the intersection was painted back in 2020 following the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor at the hands of police.
Okay, so President Trump's White House hailed the removal of Black Lives Matter Plaza this week as a step in the right direction, and dissed the multi-million-dollar. Hold on a second here.
To the Black Lives.
Shut the fuck up. Okay, the right direction, and dissed the multi-million-dollar display as a divisive relic to the left-wing radicals. Construction crews started breaking up the road outside the executive mansion on Monday after a Republican bill led by Representative Andrew Clyde from Georgia ordered D.C.'s government to junk the mural and rename the plaza or risk losing federal funding. D.C.'s Black Lives Matter plaza was an eyesore of a virtue signal that did nothing to better the lives of black Americans in our nation's capital, White House spokesman Harrison Fields told the Post. President Trump campaigned on cleaning up Washington, D.C., and this is a major step in the right direction. You see the crews here leading. This road led directly to the White House. So an absolute eyesore and kind of spit in the face of everybody for this road to lead right to the White House. Trump recently posted a video on Truth Social showing construction crews jackhammering away at the hazard yellow letters painted over 16th Avenue, but hasn't yet commented on the rebranding of the plaza, which I believe is being changed to Liberty Way, something like that, Liberty Plaza. After the removal is completed, the stretch of street leading up to the White House will be renamed Liberty Plaza. The $610,000 two-month-long project was inspired by Trump's promise to clean up Washington, D.C., Clyde said. BLM is a radical defund the police organization, but we are not a defund the police nation. Yet the left has allowed this deeply divisive slogan to shamefully stain the streets of America's capital city for nearly 5 years, he added. He continued, it's past time for Congress to exercise its constitutional authority over Washington's affairs to remove BLM Plaza and rename the street to Liberty Plaza. Our capital city must serve as a beacon of freedom, patriotism, and safety. No, not wokeness, divisiveness, and lawlessness. You see the road here originally as they were starting all this construction. The Black Lives Matter mural cost the city $4.8 million to construct. That's taxpayers' dollars, folks. With an additional $3 million used to put benches, signage, and other pedestrian tools nearby, Mayor Muriel Bowser said in 2021 when work began on it. The plaza was expected to be permanent and serve as a safe gathering space for pedestrians wanting to fully experience the mural's impact, she said. Bowser led the effort to construct the two-block pedestrian space in 2020 after George Floyd and Breonna Taylor were killed by police officers, but didn't put up a fight after Republicans voted to take it down. So George Floyd, the information is coming out now to clarify some of this, that the coroner found out that he had drugs in his system, that he swallowed all the drugs, including fentanyl, that he had on him prior to the arrest. And it was very likely the drugs that killed him, not Derek Chauvin. And he wasn't leaning on his neck, he was leaning on his shoulder. But the drugs ended up taking effect, and this is what led to his coronary failure. Now, there was a video going around prior to this where George Floyd was pulled over before by the police. In that same scenario, he ended up swallowing all the drugs he had on him prior to the police searching the car and searching his belongings. He had a history and a method of getting rid of the evidence of everything he had on him before the cops were able to find something on him and send him back to jail because he was a convict that was essentially out on parole. I'll remind everybody that this guy ended up robbing a pregnant woman whose children were in the house. He held her at gunpoint while his boys robbed this woman and then took off. Now, with Breonna Taylor was dating a drug dealer, and she was very aware that she was dating a drug dealer. The cops came to go through with a warrant in order to arrest the boyfriend. The boyfriend started firing on police as they were at the door and entering when they had a lawful warrant and were able to enter the premises. Breonna ended up being killed in that interaction, in that shootout. So if you're going to willingly and knowingly date a drug dealer who could also be holding everything in your home while he's there, you've made a decision to dip your feet into that life. You've made a conscious decision to be a part of that and the trouble that comes with it. How Breonna could have avoided that would be by saying, I don't want anything to do with this. You're a drug dealer. You have two choices. Stop dealing drugs and stop doing what you're doing, and then we can stay together. Or I'm leaving because I don't want to be guilty by association and run into the problems that come with it. So, both of them were bad situations in their own right. The mural inspired millions of people and helped our city through a painful period, but now we can't afford to be distracted by meaningless congressional interference. The devastating impacts of the federal job cuts must be our number one concern, Bowser claimed on X. That's the mayor of D.C., who's a Democrat. She said the nation's capital has bigger fish to fry than protest the takedown of the mural, such as focusing on the economy. Read between the lines here, and she doesn't want to use the federal funding that D.C. desperately needs. It's bad news for her, and then all of her constituents are going to turn on her and end up not voting for her. That's the reason that it's gone. Okay, so moving on here. Yeah, exactly, Mrs. Harris. No knock warrants, correct. So now we go on to this Israeli agitator, Mahmoud Khalil, being deported over pro-Hamas propaganda flyers. The left is trying to get all in a tivvy over him being arrested. This guy is this guy has been here on a visa, attending college. He's a Hamas supporter. He has distributed Hamas paraphernalia, including information on how to fight back against the police, how to attack certain areas and take certain actions. Now, the left has been fighting back and saying, you can't, this is freedom of speech, you can't get rid of this guy. Let's get into it here. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt revealed Tuesday that the ex-Columbia University student Mahmoud Khalil is in the process of being deported for allegedly circulating pro-Hamas propaganda flyers, with President Trump saying later in the day that he watched tapes of Khalil's anti-Israeli activism and wanted to get him the hell out of the country. Khalil was arrested Saturday by the Department of Homeland Security officials, becoming the poster boy of a crackdown on alleged anti-Semitism by foreign citizens on college campuses, though it was not immediately clear why he was selected as the initial target. That's not true. It is clear. It isn't just about anti-Semitism. You are allowed as an American citizen to be anti-Semitic if you want to. If you want to hate Jews, you can hate Jews. You're just not allowed to start putting your hands on them and hurting them. Now, this guy has been going around and actively putting out information in support of Hamas, a recognized terrorist organization, and promoting efforts within the college to attack people, take actions against people. This is the reason he's being targeted. And he's here on a visa, by the way, not an American citizen. I know he ended up marrying some stupid American woman who's probably a terrorist supporter just like him. But he's on a visa. Everyone that has received a visa, and everybody in here that's in any of my chats, if you're familiar with this at all, about how the visa process works, on it says you can be removed for virtually any reason without a hearing in order to address why it's happening. You are here by the good graces of your host country. If you come here and do anti-American rhetoric, if you support terrorism, and you're caught with proof that you are actually doing that, they have the right to revoke your visa, no questions asked, and you can be sent back to your country of origin. This is what they have done with his arrest and his deportation. Judges and the left are trying to fight back against this, but a visa states you're here. Here's some of the flyers, our narrative. Operation I'll Ask Flood. The I'll Ask refers to the Alaska temple and how they need to take over that area from the Jews or flush the Jews out, which you understand what that means, to flush the Jews out. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free means the elimination of the Jews, the elimination of the Israeli state. All of that area that they claim to be their own. Here's another one, Crush Zionism and the boots coming down. These are some of the flyers that he's been disseminating against people. These flyers promote open rebellion against wherever you are and whoever is getting in your way. And this is not all of them, by the way. This is just the ones they're referencing in this article. Mohammed Khalil was an individual who was given the privilege of coming to this country to study at one of our nation's finest universities and colleges. And he took advantage of that opportunity, of that privilege, by siding with terrorists, Hamas terrorists, who have killed innocent men, women, and children, Levitt said at a regular White House briefing. This is an individual who organized group protests that not only disrupted college campus classes and harassed Jewish American students and made them feel unsafe on their own college campus, but also distributed pro-Hamas propaganda flyers with the logo of Hamas, she said. So here's some. Sometimes history needs a push. The AFL-OOO. And showing one of the posters featuring Yahya Sinwar, I believe the leader of Hamas, or one of the higher-up generals in Hamas. The Battle of Heinz Hall from our side of the barricades. More a poster distributed by police referencing the Battle of Heinz Hall. That's when they took over one of the halls at the college. Levitt's office subsequently provided images of the flyers to the Post. The posters that Khalil allegedly circulated, including one calling on readers to crush Zionism, so anyone that supports Israel, and depicting a boot stepping on the Jewish Star of David, so to destroy it. Another image hails Operation Alaska Flood, the code name for Hamas's October 7th, 2023 massacre of about 1,200 people across southern Israel, and bears a logo of the Hamas media office. A flyer threatening disruption, agitation, and resistance at Columbia. He was distributing that as well. This is all proof here, all receipts. A different flyer bears an image of the terrorist group's late leader, he's dead now, Yahya Sinwar, and the words, "Sometimes history needs a push flood." I thought about bringing them into this briefing room to share with all of you, but I don't think it was worth the dignity of this room to bring that pro-Hamas propaganda, but that's what this individual distributed on the campus of Columbia University, Levitt told the White House press corps. And this administration is not going to tolerate individuals studying in our country and then siding with pro-terrorist organizations that have killed Americans. We have a zero-tolerance policy for siding with terrorists. Hours later, Trump slammed Khalil, who is Palestinian, and fellow protesters while inspecting Tesla car models with Elon Musk on the White House driveway. By the way, people are criticizing this. Biden did the exact same thing with a Jeep Rubicon directly in front of the White House, exactly the way Trump did it. So if you're going to criticize Trump for bringing a Tesla in to help out Elon Musk and saying that he's going to buy one, you also have to criticize Biden for bringing a Jeep Rubicon in front of the White House and getting into it, taking it for a test drive, and doing the exact same thing. So the argument that cancels each other out, it means nothing. I think we ought to get them all out of the country. They're troublemakers. They're agitators. They don't love our country. We ought to get them all the hell out, Trump said. I completely agree with this, by the way. If all of these Palestinian... You're walking through our country flying the flag of another country. We can make an argument, if they're American citizens, that this is the First Amendment, your voice can be heard, you can do this, but absolutely shameful, disgraceful act to turn your back on the country that's giving you these opportunities to be a whining shitbag by flying a terrorist flag and turning on your own country, which is giving you the opportunity to turn on your own country. So Mahmoud Khalil and anybody else, all of these fucking Palestinian terrorist supporters, I think they should all be deported. Send them right over. I don't care if they're American citizens. Send them right over to Palestine and say, you feel so strongly about this? Grab a gun, jump on the front lines, and put your money where your mouth is and fight for Palestine. If you're not willing to do it, in my opinion, shut the fuck up and go back to class. You're an entitled college fucking brat that mommy and daddy have given you the money to pull this bullshit. And your parents need a swift kick in their ass, and you need one of your own. So this other story here, I don't want to run too late. I've had, because I've been behind, I've wanted to catch up with as much as I can. With the Democrats pushing for all of these illegals, all of this starts to make a little bit of sense, because AOC had an aide that was illegal, and then he deported himself before he got caught. I'm willing to bet her staff had to sit down with him and said, listen, there's a huge push on illegals. You need to get the fuck out before you get caught and they start getting you singing like a canary. So a man who was in the United States illegally and served as a deputy communications director for Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York has self-deported to Colombia. Fucking go back to Colombia, you fucking cockroach. According to a report, originally from Ecuador, Diego de la Vega reportedly came to the U.S. at age 7 and spent 23 years in the country after he overstayed a visitor's visa. Whoopsie. It was very clear to me early on that our status was different, de la Vega told Migrant Insider. They got their own fucking magazine. Even as a child, I understood what being illegal meant. We knew we had to protect ourselves. How about protecting American citizens from you? You're not supposed to be here. De la Vega's early work for immigrant rights ultimately led to him being hired by Ocasio-Cortez's re-election campaign in October 2022, according to his LinkedIn profile. So she willingly and knowingly hired an illegal immigrant. I mean, do you know the fines for companies if you get caught hiring an illegal immigrant without going through the proper process of vetting them and establishing they're a citizen? And she got away with it with, to the best of my knowledge currently, no discipline, nothing, no responsibility for this action. De la Vega's early work for immigrant rights ultimately led to him being hired by Ocasio-Cortez's re-election campaign. Okay. Migrant Insider reported that De la Vega left the United States in December and relocated to Bogota, Colombia with his wife, who is also an illegal immigrant. Nice. Diego is amazing, Ocasio-Cortez told the outlet last week in a brief hallway interview. We love him, aside from the fact that he came here illegally and should never have done it. The former AOC aide's self-deportation came shortly after the President Donald Trump's November victory. A centerpiece of the Republican campaign was enhancing border security and removing illegal immigrants from the country. Since taking office, the Trump administration has cracked down on immigration enforcement, and migrant encounters at the southern border have plunged to their lowest level since 2017. According to the Washington Post columnist Mark Thiessen, 42,048 foreign nationals were removed from the U.S. this year between January 21st, the day after Trump's inauguration, February 18th, due to his status as a deferred action for childhood arrivals, or a DACA recipient. De la Vega was prohibited from working on Capitol Hill, and Migrant Insider reported that it is unclear how Ocasio-Cortez's office handled his employment status. We know they just fucking put him in and didn't give a shit or blatantly lied. He told the outlet that even though his family lived in fear because of their illegal status, he had a pretty good childhood growing up in New York. Yeah, you're welcome, asshole. De la Vega also hasn't ruled out returning to the United States at some point in the future, but he said it may not be for some time. Yeah, you're going to do it illegally or not at all, scumbag. It's bittersweet, he told Migrant Insider. I hadn't left the country in 23 years, from age 7 to age 30. Now I can't go back to the U.S. It feels like exile. It's a very permanent move, but my wife and I are confident we made the right decision. Yeah, you did, before you fucking got arrested. And after some time, it's been a real pleasure to be here. It feels surreal to not be legalized anymore, De La Vega continued. I don't have to live in the shadows or constantly worry about paperwork. That freedom of movement is incredibly satisfying. I might not be able to return to the United States for many years. I don't know how long, but it feels fulfilling to be home. Yeah, fuck off. But here's the example that I give when I talk about this situation. You and I are legal, tax-paying citizens. Now, let's say I run into a bad situation. I don't have any money left. I can't pay my bills. I can't feed my family. So I put a plan together to go rob a bank. This is an illegal action. But I do it for the benefit of my family. Okay. So I go ahead, I put a crew together, or it's me by myself. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. I go and I rob this bank, or I rob this convenience store, or what have you, and I'm successful in it. I get $1,000. I get a couple $1,000, and I get out of there, and I come back home, and now I've got a couple of bucks to use. The law ends up tracking me down and finding me, and knowing that it was me that perpetrated this. Why did I lose my... All right, so TikTok just fucking kicked me off my live. Fucking scumbags. Hold on. So somebody on it decided to fuck with me and cancel my live. I bet it was a scumbag Palestinian supporter. Okay. Had 460 views on that. Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll finish on YouTube and Rumble, and this is the importance of being on here, on YouTube, on Rumble, and being able to have free speech. Most specifically on Rumble, where it doesn't hold you to, it actually lets you have the First Amendment and actually use your voice properly. So, continuing this. So, I rob the bank, I get caught, they come to me, they're going to arrest me. And I say, I did this because my family is desperate, and I had no other choice. I needed money. And I needed to do this. Do you think that you or I will be given the benefit of the doubt, and we won't be arrested and we'll be left alone? As a matter of fact, the rest of the populace will come to our aid and say, no, this poor guy was just trying to take care of his family. No, I'll be arrested and taken away as shackles. I'll be put out as a criminal. Maybe even have my kids taken away because I'm a criminal that was involved in a criminal act, and DCF shows up. So, if I can't rob a bank to support my family in a desperate situation, why can someone break the rules and illegally come into this country with the excuse I did the best thing for me to have a good life for either myself or my family? In my eye, in my opinion, these circumstances are not much different from each other. In both scenarios, we perpetrated a criminal act. I'm going to be held responsible for mine. The other person was allowed to stay in the country for 20 years and illegally work for a congresswoman. This is why Americans are upset about what's happening with the illegal status, because there's rules for thee and not for me. We have to follow them. We have to pay a ridiculous amount of taxes. We have to have our money fucked with, and we have to follow all the law. God forbid I do 70 and a 50. I'm getting pulled over by a cop who's just, all that is extra taxation. These fucking cops on the side of the road pulling you over for speeding. That's all it is. It's not catching criminals or the safety of the community. It's extra taxation. So now I'm a criminal because I was going a little faster than I should have been. But if I'm an illegal coming from another country, I'm fine. And I can be a staffer in Congress. This is why people are upset with this bullshit happening. And you have every right. to be upset. So here's some new breaking news here. This is new information. A man was set on fire. I mean, right in the middle of Times Square, leaving him horrifically burned. Let's get some of this. Here he is here, this black man. He's being put in the ambulance. So, a man was set on fire in Times Square in a horrifying attack early Sunday that left him with burns all over his face. And the cops are still hunting for the attacker. Video from the scene, hold on, showed the moments immediately after the attack on the 45-year-old man. The victim is clearly in pain and covered in burns as authorities placed him inside an ambulance after putting out the blaze. Here he is in medical wrap here, covering his body, his face damaged as well. Dozens of first responders can be seen in the clip surrounding the scene as the victim stands on the sidewalk, shirtless and huddled in a blue blanket. The footage also showed cops talking to an apparent companion of the victim who was wearing a short dress and high heels. So I imagine it was that Asian woman that was walking in a long jacket that police were escorting. Was that his prostitute or his girlfriend? I have no idea. The NYPD responds to reports of a man on fire at West and 41st and 7th Avenue just before 4 a.m. Sunday, according to the cops. Authorities said they believe he was set on fire, but did not immediately have a name for the perpetrator. The NYPD could not say whether the attack was targeted or random. EMS took the man to New York Presbyterian Cornell, where he's in stable condition. Police say no arrests have been made. Police investigation is ongoing. So go ahead and please tell me how safe New York is and how it's safe to be there. I'd love to hear that conversation. So a couple more stories here. Congress averts a government shutdown after the Senate passes a stopgap funding bill. So let's get into this a little bit here. Congress averted a government shutdown Friday, just hours before the funding deadline, after the Senate approved a House-passed spending bill that exposed deep rifts within the Democratic Party. Stopgap measure to fund the government into the fall now heads to the desk of President Trump, who is expected to sign it. Senate Democrats came under intense pressure to oppose the Trump-backed bill, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and others are now facing backlash after they helped to clear a path for its passage. So, to add clarification to this, the Democrats are the ones always crying that you can't shut down the government. Every year we have to have this bullshit vote in order to keep funding the government because the overspending is so bad that we really we're printing money, like unlimited magic money. In reality, the government is going broke. We are paying off the interest on our loans rather than our loans. That's how much money it is. That's why it's so important about what Trump is doing, even if it's only putting a dent in it. It's so important what Trump's doing to cut all of the federal spending and put money back in the government's pocket and eventually the taxpayers' pocket so the government doesn't completely collapse. And this funding bill was to fight against that. Now, Democrats who are always crying, you can't do it because the troops won't get paid and the public parks won't be open. Like, does anyone give a fuck that you go to a public park and the ranger isn't there? So you can't walk around nature unless there's a dude like 5 miles away from you? Really, most of them are just taking the fee for your parking. Not actually doing anything that is of dire consequence that you need them there for. So, and by the way, after everything's ratified, everyone gets a retro check. You don't keep going without money. It's not a gap, and then you go back and then you lose all of it. Everyone gets back pay, and you get paid. So all they have to do is figure the situation out, and then you get paid. So the Democrats wanted to fight this on principle because they have to fight back against Donald Trump because Orange Man bad. And they had to have an internal discussion about how this was going to look when the Republicans were saying, keep funding the government, here's our bill. And then the Democrats come and say, no, we're opposing you, and we don't really have any particular reason why, other than we hate Trump. They would have had to have eaten that loss. Because everybody would look at them as the ones who shot the bill down. And they would have done it with a filibuster. I know that the Republicans have a very, very slim majority in the House, very, very slim majority in the Senate. But you can overturn that by doing a filibuster and then getting in the way of the vote, which they would have been able to shut it down. And they were planning a filibuster. That's when they all show up and yammer on for an hour apiece. And they're all in line to all do this bullshit up until the point where nothing can get done. So you shut the entire thing down, no vote can take place, because in that particular instance you need like 60 votes. I think you need a kind of a super majority. So you need not only your people, you need some of theirs as well in order to get through it, based on this particular situation of pushing this through. So if Democrats had decided to take that route, Republicans would not have been able to push the spending bill through. And then the Democrats would be the ones responsible for shutting the government down. So it would have been a bad look for them. It would have been a kick in the pants over it. They decided to give in, support the bill, and let it go through. That's why you're seeing what's happening right now. The rising tensions within the party spilled into public view as lawmakers raced towards a shutdown that would have had far-reaching consequences across the federal government. That was Friday, by the way, a couple of days ago. Highlighting the struggle Democrats face in an attempt to counter Trump and the Republican monopoly on power in Washington. Some 90 minutes before Senate Republicans staved off a shutdown on a nearly party-line vote, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and 9 others crossed the aisle to advance it in a key procedural vote, despite intensifying pressure from the caucus to sink it outright. The legislation, however, only required a simple majority in the chamber for final passage, and all but 2 in the group ultimately opposed it. Schumer argued his party had only bad options when it came to shutting down the government, possibly for months, to challenge Trump or accepting a GOP bill the Democrats have warned would cut spending to programs like veterans, health care, or Washington, D.C. firefighters and police. I believe it's the best way to minimize the harm the Trump administration will do to American people, Schumer argued in defense of his decision and a pathway for the bill's passage. Clearly, it's Hobson's choice. The CR is a bad bill, but as bad as the CR is, I believe allowing Donald Trump to take even more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option, because in a government shutdown, the president is the one who is allowed to allocate funds and who they should be allocated to. So the purse gets shut off by Congress, but only the president can decide who he can pay. So he could decide to shut every one of these shitbag Democrats off and have them get no money, and all the Democrat PACs and everything else, this garbage that they hide behind to fund them, and he could fund only things that he wanted to. So it was a lose-lose situation for the Democrats, and they decided to go with the least path of resistance. Trump. So who crossed party lines? Let's see. Chuck Schumer, Big John Dummy Fetterman, Catherine Cortez Masto, Dick Durbin, Brian Schatz. Second row, Sens Maggie Hassan, Christian Gillibrand, another shitbag. They're all shitbags, really. Gary Peters, Janine Sheahin, another shitbag, and Angus King, all Democrat scumbags. But they want to make sure their money keeps flowing. So they crossed party lines, and they made sure that it got done. Trump praised Schumer for announcing he would support the measure, telling reporters after the vote Friday, "I appreciate Senator Schumer, and I think he did the right thing, really. I'm impressed by that." Outside of Schumer's leadership team, many Senate Democrats as well as House Democrats seethed at the Democrats' move, which they saw as capitulation in the party's first real leverage point in Trump's second term. The initial vote, while procedural, had been closely watched by Democrats across the country who saw it as a test of the party leaders' willingness to fight Trump. Ultimately, the Senate voted 54-46 to approve the stopgap bill to fund the government through September 30th. Senators Jeanne Shaheen, a New Hampshire Democrat, and Angus King, Maine Independent, who caucuses with the party, voted in favor of the bill, and just one Republican, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, opposed it. I don't fully know why he did that. Once I voted for the cloture, it was an opportunity to pass a bill, and I thought it was more honest to vote for it, Shaheen told CNN, adding, I thought, much as I didn't like the CR, I thought a government shutdown would be worse and would give Trump and Elon Musk and the Doge operation more of an opportunity to fire people. See, they were worried about themselves, not the government. To shut down agencies and to close work of the government. After voting to pass the stopgap bill, the Senate approved a separate measure to allow Washington, D.C. to maintain control over its funds after Democrats warned the Republican funding package would cut $1.1 billion of the city's funding. The measure would next need to be passed by the House, where its fate is unclear. At urging of prominent Democrats like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, voters have been flooding senators' offices with calls urging them to block the bill and take on Trump for his dismantling of the federal government. Ultimately, many Democrats believe Schumer failed that test. And good. I hope the jackals eat each other. When the Democrats attack and eat each other, America wins. Earlier in the week, top House Democrats, including House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, led a fierce whip operation against the bill, ultimately losing just one of their members on the vote, but it was enough to sink the bill, which passed the House Tuesday anyway. Jeffries would not answer Friday when asked whether he lost confidence in Schumer, with whom he diverged on the funding issue. Next question, he told reporters. So, this is good news. Democrats had to take another hit. They had to give in to Trump's and the Republicans' path to move forward, and this is good news for America. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I have updates I'm going to do with Michelle Obama starting her own podcast with her brother. Can you tell which one is which in this picture? I bet you can't. And it's been doing awful, but I'll do that because we're over the hour mark at this point. I'll do that as some updates tomorrow and throughout the week because I've got to deal with TikTok kicking me off the live, and I appealed it, and I got to figure out if that can be resolved over there. And then, of course, MAGA influencers being targeted by swatting. This is where primarily leftists, I've never heard of Trump supporters or conservatives doing this. Leftists end up, if you're a larger conservative base or supporter, whether you're doing a show or whether you have a large page on Twitter, on X, they will call into the police and say there's a hostage situation at your home, that somebody's been killed or something bad has happened. They'll pretend they're somebody else, and it's called swatting. And then the police show up at your house. You're taken out by gunpoint because they for the safety of everybody and to cover their own ass, they have to treat it as something legitimate until they can find out that it wasn't and it was a lie. And all of these people need to go to jail. They need to be found. They need to go to jail. They need to be prosecuted on potential murder charges because depending on how the situation goes, you could have been shot by the police in your own home for something as simple as doing a podcast or running an X page. So, to the best of my knowledge, this is all scumbag leftists that do this. And I'm going to get into this more next week because we've kind of gone over our time here, all right? So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We're on X at the Relief Valve Podcast. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. And we're on TikTok as well at the Relief Valve Podcast. On Rumble, it's Matt Ventilator, all one word, because you can't use a name. You have to use a show. Or you have to use a name partial with the show and not just a show. You know, I hope in the future Rumble changes that. But in the meantime, it's Matt Ventilator. You can find me right here if you're not on there already. My dashboard. No, that's not it. 11,000 views. That's pretty cool. Let me go to my page here. And it shows me live. Okay.
Introducing the Anya. The non...
Shut the fuck up. Okay, so Matt Ventilator right here. All one word, and then on YouTube as well as a Relief Valve Podcast. I want to thank everybody that's new members, everybody that's been joining up. The numbers have been going up on all three platforms. I really appreciate everybody. on if you are willing at all, if you appreciated the show and the time that I put in, I have to put a link to it. But I have Cash App set up right now. I have to do a PayPal too that's specifically designed for the show. But if you're willing to donate to the show or buy me a coffee or what everyone says, it's $ Relief Valve Podcast on Cash App. If anyone's willing to donate, all of that's appreciated. And if not, I thank all of the new members that are following and joining up with the show. Thank you so much for helping it grow. I've been slowly clawing and dragging to grow this show for almost 2 years, and I'm finally starting to see an uptick on numbers and kind of a return for everything that's being put in. So thank you so much to everyone. I will keep posting up to all 3 platforms as I normally do throughout the entire week, and I'll give you updates about those other updates that I just showed you. All right, thanks everyone, and we'll see you again real soon. Happy Sunday and good luck with next week.